Shadowboxing with Filthy and J-Dog.
All right, we are here for Shadowboxing Season 2, Episode 4?
Five,
5? 5.
six.
6? It's
I don't know. It's
Shadowboxing.
We'll
it's Season 2.
fix
It's
that
an
next week.
episode. The title will be right because I can check that. But right now, yeah, we are here live. Well, it's live recording. And we are here with a guest. So, of course, I'm J-Dog, joined by my best friend and constant co-host, Filthy. Filthy, how you doing?
I'm doing good, my friend.
And we've got a special guest tonight. You know him, you have to love him. Earlier I've been like, you love him, you might hit him, but there's no reason to hate. The good man, Doc. How you doing, Doc?
What's good, fellas? Good to be back.
Yeah, all right. Well, tonight we're going to have a little bit of a different start to things, at least. We've previously just kind of gone over the division standings, where things are going, statistics and all that stuff, and we've thrown all of that out the window. Because instead tonight we're going to talk about some topics. We're going to get some takes that are all related to the league, but it's going to be a little bit of a different format, and it's something that we kind of talked about a little bit ago, and we've done some experimenting with the format this season, so I'm really excited to get this one started. So we're going to talk about different takes and questions that we have about the league, and then at the end of it, we're going to sort of just very briefly talk about playoff standings, seedings, and things like that. Obviously, a lot of teams have clinched the playoffs. Some teams have clinched their seeds already. So a lot of it's already been decided, and you could just read that if you wanted to, or just look up standings. We don't have to tell you that. You can just figure it out. So instead, we're going to do some banter. This was also, honestly, a suggestion by the community. So we're going to take it, we're going to run with it, and we're going to kick it off with our first topic, some questions. Now, I will say these are questions that we has sort of bounced off of ourselves. So rather than, I think we did an episode last season where it was like user submitted questions, right? Or not user, but
Yeah, we
community
did.
submitted questions.
We definitely did one of those last season.
And I loved it. I loved the hell out of it, and I'd love to do it. I almost talked to you guys about requesting feedback from the community for this one. But since we had a guest, I thought it was better to just pick the brain of the guest and ourselves and see what we come up with. So, without further ado, we'll go to the first question that I think we all agreed that we're going to talk about on. It's a good place to start. It kind of allows us to acknowledge the former seeding and standing format that we started it off with while also doing something different. And that question is, who is your favorite to win the first Super Bowl of TSR in Madden 23? You know what, Doc? This was one of your questions, so I want to kick it off to you. Who do you think your favorite is to win the Super Bowl this year?
Honestly, man, I would say if I had Kyler, I would honestly and humbly vote myself, but I don't have Kyler, and Teddy tends to fold in clutch moments sometimes, so that takes me out of that. So I
My
think,
brother in Christ, you're on an 11-game winning streak. Like,
dog, it ain't been because of the quarterback play. I can tell you that. We like 25 in passing, you know.
No,
It's
that's
motherfucking Rojo show.
That's
Yeah,
fine.
the Rojo show.
That's
The Rojo show.
Okay, sure, whoever. If you're saying you're taking yourself out of the race because you don't have a quarterback, that clearly has not seemed to matter. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, man, we playing with a chip on our shoulder this year, but I think I am realistic in the fact that when the playoffs start, man, it's a different beat. It's a different beast, and you need a complete effort from the entire team, not just one man or one aspect of the team. So I'm just being realistic. So I think if I look at other teams that are playing, at a very very high level. That would kind of put it between like the 2-1 seeds. I know this is kind of a softball, but Hive with the Ravens and Bloom King with the Cowboys. Um, they're playing at an astronomical level, but it comes down to me turnover differential. So I think if we look at that, I believe the Ravens are like killing that category. If I've been keeping up with it correctly.
Give me 1 second. I can actually tell you that because I was looking at stats. Go ahead and keep talking, and I'll just
Yeah, so
real quick.
I'm going with the Ravens just based off the fact that Lamar Jackson is an X factor, and then he has that defense playing at a championship level right now. I think they have so many takeaways, bro.
He's plus 34, by the way.
Yeah,
We get there. And like his giveaway numbers aren't low. He's got 31 giveaways with 22 interceptions and 9 fumbles. But this
right.
motherfucker has 65 takeaways, 56 interceptions, and 11 fumble recoveries. That's fucking nuts.
Yeah, that's record breaking. So it's like I can't go against that, man. If he keeps that up, I got to go with the Ravens taking the first year.
I kind of want to jump in here just because of that last point that you left off on. And the one thing that I'll say is that, yes, he's got like 65 as for your takeovers is outstanding. And if the differential is 34, that's pretty great too. But like, Filthy, the thing that you talked about, the fact that it's like, well, yeah, he's giving away the ball a lot, but he's also taking away so much more. That's the part that concerns me a little bit because he has, it's true, the differential, it's +8 versus Bloom. But the difference is that he's taken the ball away a lot more than Bloom has. That differential is actually +16. But the giveaways are way in favor of Bloom, who's had, it looks like, 8 less giveaways. So the differential's better for Hive and the Ravens because it's a little more of each, a little, like, the ratio's still better even still. But the thing for me is the giveaways. Takeaways can be really, they can, well, and I guess, like, for this, I guess fumble recoveries is what I'm looking at. Because fumble recoveries are, to me, one of the most coin flippy things in the game. Like, you can just have a game where the other guy fumbled a bunch and you're just, what can you do? There's games when you just, like, fumble 4 times and it's like, well, that's fucking cool. Like,
been there.
Did you feel like you could win that game? Like,
no, I didn't. I lost 31-0. At no point did I feel like every time I got in the red zone, Joe Mixon fumbled. I'm pretty sure I had an aneurysm on stream.
Did you feel like the other user was 31 points better than you?
No.
Because fumbles, right? Like, you can't, the point is, fumbles can happen at some really unfortunate times. They can, and almost all the time, it's not user skill. No, it's not hard to run up on somebody and flick up on your right stick. I'm sorry. That's not hard. They've made it explicitly easy, like in this game and the last cycle, honestly. You'll get big hits on kickoff angles where you're like, there's literally no way that a player could generate enough leverage to have that kind of hit. But like,
I honestly get them more on R1s on the fucking strip mechanic this
Yeah,
year.
the peanut punch.
which there's also no penalty for doing that unless they patched it. So
I will say this.
What I mean is you used to have like a higher risk of either missing the tackle or getting a face mask.
Oh, you're talking about the setting
face
into
mask.
aggressive. I'm not even talking about that.
Right.
I'm just talking about in-game in general, like on, off, like that stand-up, you get them stood up, you come in with that second player and hit R1, man, and they'll come around and peanut punch at that fucking ball. Like,
Right.
that shit works again this year.
Again, though,
Like,
that play, how often is it the offensive user's fault that they get stood up and then another player comes in and peanut punches the ball out? I'm not saying it's not realistic.
You gotta
but,
cover
like,
up with R1 at that point. Like, if you're trying to
Or go
fucking
down.
if you're mashing for the fucking break tackle on that stand-up tackle, that's when you end up in those situations.
All right.
So you gotta pick and choose your battles with that shit.
That's fair. I still feel like it's a lot more coin flippy than, although, you know, interceptions have been ridiculous as well. They still feel less coin flippy than fumbles, to me at least.
Yeah. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
I can hear you,
All right, yeah.
brother.
All right, yeah.
So, anyways,
I will say this, though.
point being, just to wrap it up, and then I'll let you go, Doc. I feel, granted, you know, it's only 3 more fumbles for the Ravens than the Cowboys, but that's 11-8. I just think that, like, even if the ratio is better for Hive, I value giveaways, having lower giveaways, even if they're not as much as the overall difference. I value the lower giveaways very highly. So, at this point, based off of those things that you had mentioned, would probably take Bloom over Hive. But that's just based off of that point, and maybe overall, but who knows? But you wanted to say?
I mean, good.
I hope I don't have to do this too much, but you make very, very, very good points. I would actually have to switch my pick to Bloom because I'm looking at the schedules and Hive's starting schedule. Keep in mind, we're just starting the cycle. People getting used to the passing thing. His first 4 weeks, the guys that he played, Jets, Noob, Freight with the Dolphins, and then the Patriots. They averaged 8 picks a game when they play at Hive. So all of his stats as far as takeaways were kind of inflated in that first month or first 4 weeks. So it's kind of like if you look at Bloom's schedule, he's playing guys that don't really turn the ball over like that. So it's like I think what you're saying as far as giveaways, that's a more important stat than the takeaway stat that Hive has. So I'm changing my pick to Bloom.
All right, Filthy, what do you think? And also, it's not like
my pick was always Bloom, just because strictly there was an asterisk next to that record. He should be the only undefeated team in the league, and I'm never gonna vote against a guy who hasn't lost a game.
That's the cleanest, shortest take you have to make.
Another reason that you guys just listed though, because like I was the one who read off the initial stat, and I sat here and looked at it for a second and was like, man, Bloom's really like statistically not that far different though, and that comes down to me. Well, I don't know. That gets into the turnovers, the takeaways versus the giveaways. Yeah, I'm gonna roll with Bloom. That was my initial, just strictly because of the record. Looking at the stats, he's honestly not that far off.
Right. And
Crazy.
just to throw a wrench in it, we can move on. But it's like I don't want to make it sound like it's this like 2-team show period, and that's all that can happen. Does a Ravens Cowboys Super Bowl sound weird to say out loud? Actually, yes. But does it seem inevitable? No. It seems like as likely as anything else at this point, I think I'd say. But of course, so much can happen. We're discounting a Cardinals team that, you're being very humble, Doc, but and also, yes, of course, Bloom hasn't actually lost. But the game doesn't know that. Your teams are tied right now. So if neither one blinks, I don't even know what kind of like I have no idea what tiebreaker that would even come down to if you guys both end the season. But, well...
If we did match up, I'm the number one rushing defense in the league. And he has, I believe, one of the top rushing offenses in the league.
Ezekiel Elliott's leading the league, if I'm correct, right now.
Yeah, he's like up for MVP.
1,890 yards and 31 fucking touchdowns on 300 attempts.
Right. He's the MVP right now.
Derrick Henry on 47 more attempts has like 81 less yards and like 18 something less touchdowns.
Yeah.
The Cowboys as a team have less than 100 yards rushing yards less than the Ravens as a team.
Mm-hmm.
A lot more passing yards. So more total offense. And then, of course, if we go to defense, the best rushing defense so the second best rushing offense versus what would be the best rushing defense by 3 yards, by the way. 3 yards separates you and both second place teams. The Rams and Bills are tied for rushing yards against. But yes, it's awesome that you highlighted that because that would be, that'd be a game. I think right now,
it'd be crazy.
I think right now that's got to be the NFC Championship game that everybody that's not Rice and whoever else is in the NFC that's doing well down is hoping for, because of course everybody else wants to be in that game. But talking about it, I think that it would be pretty awesome to see that be the NFC Championship game. That'd be one of those NFC Championship games that you'd be like, wow, that's so good. It might even be like, of course, it's not better than the Super Bowl, but it's like that might be closer competition, or that might be a better. You know what I'm saying? Like it would feel like a Super Bowl within a conference championship game.
Yeah, and I hate to do this because I know this is such a crazy topic, but do not sleep on the Rams. Rams were the only team to beat me this season so far. He also has a very good rushing defense, and he's back from moving. His Wi-Fi is back. He returned, I believe, his first game. He kicked Double Rice's face in. So I mean, you can't sleep on the Rams. The NFC playoffs are gonna be crazy. So just gotta put that out there. I can't sleep on Evans.
Dread him, like run from him. Evans arrives all the same. Shit, man.
Man.
Moving was supposed to remove him from playoff contention. And here he is. Yeah, that's a fair point. Somebody that came back with a statement. So yeah, I think we've covered it a lot, and to the point that you made, Filthy, there wasn't a whole lot to discuss at that point, and you can cut it down pretty quick. But yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. Before we do move on to the next topic, I will say I'm ready to make some noise in the AFC playoffs. So check out who's got the number 1 ranked passing attack right now.
Mm.
And
Yeah,
it's starting to click and it's starting to hit, and these big body guys, man, I'm starting to figure out who plays what role now.
3rd ranked points for in the NFL, and yeah.
Joe Mixon's finally hitting his stride. Yeah,
Giving up a lot of points though too, man. Well, what's up with that?
Some of those are some pick sixes early. I think that plays a factor into a lot of it, and I just wasn't playing. I was always on defense because I was always turning the ball over to start the season. Now that I can actually sustain a drive and keep my defense off the field, then point totals, if you look are starting to kind of level themselves out.
Yeah.
Also, I'm doing something new this year. I'm user covering way more than I ever have, which I've had a lot of success with. But I'm still mixing in, a little bit of that D-line action every once in a while, just to keep you motherfuckers honest.
Yeah, that's my problem. When I try, first of all, I'm not great when I try to user cover, but also, I don't remember often enough to mix in the D-line user coverage. And then occasionally I'll be in games where it's going dicey, and then I D-line user a couple plays and it goes well, and then I D-line user just the rest of the game and it goes well, and it's oh, that's just reinforcing negative habits.
No, but I'll hot hand it here and there, man. I'll hot hand it.
Yeah.
If it's just working, I'm not gonna stop.
Yeah.
With playing that position.
Right.
And if at that point I'm realizing, okay, this dude doesn't matter if I use her coverage, he's just having issues reading these defenses to fucking begin with, then you can stick with that. If you need a little bit of help over the middle, a little bit of help outside because they're really murdering you out there, well, then it's time to get off and just cover it down and then let your D-line do their thing that way. You just got to roll with the fucking punches and figure out what you got to do against certain people.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to the next topic, though. Sorry, I got off on a little tangent there on how I feel about switching back and forth between the two.
Yeah. No, but I like it though, and I was just going to after this say that we should move on, but that's okay because you landed there, and it's okay. Tangents are what this podcast is about. So, all right then. Of the three of the rookie, not three. There's more than three, but of the rookie users in this class, who will make the most noise? So I think we can agree that's over the course of the cycle, right?
Right.
Might not necessarily be something that they've got going on. They're not going to win the Super Bowl this year, but who's going to make the most noise of the rookies, the newcomers that we have within TSR? I want you, Filthy, to start this one because you said you already had an answer for that and you seemed really confident in it.
I think it's going to be Torque.
You like Torque?
I think it's going to end up being the Browns user.
The Browns.
So I haven't,
No, No. Go on. Don't waver now. Poor
It'd be
Torque is like,
between-
it's my
I
time in
think
the
it's
sun, and a
the
cloud
sun,
comes
right?
over the sun.
Cloud comes over, like, no, it's not. I mean, you could throw Timber in that discussion, but from the couple of games I've played against Torque, man, he's a smart user. I don't feel like he makes like a ton of mistakes. I really do feel like if he can get a couple of things hammered out with that Cleveland team and figure out how to use them, he could end up being dangerous because that team's fucking stacked, man. So it wouldn't be surprising to me if come the next couple of years he starts playing really well with them. That's just going off my gut because I've had to play him twice this year.
Yeah. I gotta agree. I can agree with that. I think Torque is a solid answer. He's standing out because he's since he took the team over, he's been playing some pretty good games. They haven't all been dubs, but they've been pretty tough. But he took a tough L to the Buccaneers, which is also who is I believe that's Timber, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so Timber's another strong case, but I think one that's a sleeper. I want to sound crazy saying this because he has one win, but the Vikings user, I can't even say his name right. Saden Power, whatever, something like that.
Oh, I have heard rumblings and whispers.
Yeah, he's real quiet. He's low key right now, but I played
Yeah.
him. I played I think his first game in the when he got on the Vikings, and I think he gave me my toughest game this season. And the
One of
Vikings
those
team is
dudes,
not in clout.
one of those dudes you load up and you play against, and you set the sticks down after, and you're like, "Fuck, okay, that guy's
Yeah.
gonna be good."
Yep.
Yeah, he's gonna be good. It's hard to explain, but when you know, you know.
You know. Oh
Um,
yeah.
you know, and so he's been taking some L's, and I think you take a team over and you're already out of playoff contention. It's kind of like,
Yeah.
all right, let me try to figure some things out and learn some stuff. But
Yeah. 100%. He took over that team, and they were like, at that point,
right,
I think the last time that I remember an NFC North, like whether it was the Bears or the Vikings, having like before they had a user, they were both like 0-5. No, they played each other. That's right. The CPU teams played each other, but they were like 0-6 and 1-5 or some shit like that before
right,
I ever
right,
remember seeing a user. So
right. They were like he took them over like 0-6, and I think since then his only win has been against Jonesy and the Commanders. But just look
which
out for him next year. I put it like
defending Super Bowl champion as far as we're concerned, right? Like
that. Dog, this Madden is so different, man. It's so hard to even like.
no,
I don't
I
want
know.
to take nothing away from him, but
I know it's a different game, but you can't discount that the guy at least understood very well one version of Madden. So
right.
I think that's worth noting that if you're a 1-win team, you beat a former, league Super Bowl champion. So
Yeah.
yeah, I guess it feels kind of dirty, but is it cheating to say Evans? He's technically a rookie.
Yeah, if we're gonna lump Evans into that, then I think he wins that category. Evans, I'm
So,
familiar with
I
Evans.
mean, when we say rookie, I guess we would mean like new to TSR, right? Those
Well,
are the
he was
Yeah.
here last. He was here last cycle, so
Was he?
No, I think he came in
I'm
during the tournament.
I'm almost certain he played during the tournament, but he did not play last cycle at all.
Yeah, he came in during the tournament.
Because I remember
So
he
yeah,
beat the fucking brakes off of me, and I was like, I don't think I'm the cat's pajamas, but this guy knows what he's fucking doing. Like, also, Jesus
yeah.
Christ, is that how old I am? Like, I just said that sentence. That doesn't feel like a sentence anyone should say. But the either way, again, shaky start. It's been noted that he was had to move, and so that took some games away from him being able to play. But like you had mentioned, I think it was you, Doc, that mentioned some of the games that he recently played, where he
Yeah,
got some big
he's
wins.
solid, man. Yeah, he's solid, man. He's taking out some top guys in a pretty convincing fashion, and I'm familiar with Evans. I know he's a dog, but I don't think I think his record here has been spotty due to like the moving thing, but when he does play, shh, it ain't pretty. So if we're lumping him into the rookie class, then I gotta agree with that. I mean, Evans is he the guy.
He's definitely, so it's kind of weird. In the beginning of the season he was playing, he lost to J Smooth in a pretty rough loss. Like it was kind of a blowout. He then lost to Q Pierce in a close game, one possession. He beat you pretty convincingly. And then he beat who are now the CPU, San Francisco 49ers, RIP. And then he lost. What now? Oh, yeah, it was Fink, right? Yeah.
That was Pink at the time, yeah.
And then he lost a one possession game to Bloom, who were all saying might go to the Super Bowl. And then played a game against the Panthers. Shit, who were the Panthers? Actually, probably
That was Buster at the time.
Yeah,
it was Buster at the time.
Buster at the time beat Buster.
Might have been the game that made Buster go home.
Sheesh. And that's when the sim games came through, and fortunately for him, he did okay during the sims. Like, not all of them were forces. Like, and then he came back, lost the game to our Seahawks user. They did play that one. Lance, is he something different on Discord? Or is that just Lance?
Seahawks, yeah, he has another name. He's good too, though.
I'm staring at his PlayStation tag, and I'm like, that doesn't ring it in for me. But either way, lost a one possession game. Then he beat Darkness. Yeah, that was kind of a blowout. And then he blew out Double Rice. So I think this guy's got the game on lock, and it'll be interesting. He closes out the season to play. He's gonna play Coach B, who I know we talked about for a while earlier on the podcast as a guy. I haven't looked at his standings super recently, but I know that won't be an easy game. And then he's got Seals, and then he ends the season against the Seahawks team that recently beat him. So we'll see. He's definitely in contention, and either way, I think that guy's gonna actually get in the playoffs and like shake things up this season, let alone what's gonna happen down the road. So I think that's my pick. But all of the guys that you guys talked about, I'm actually glad that I'm the one that picked chalk and nobody else did, because that's what I feel like. I feel like I'm just picking Duke to win the national championship because that's what people do and it can happen. But I'm glad that we talked about three different users and their their play style and how we think they can impact the league. And then, all right, so let's go ahead and talk about, we normally talk about divisions in this podcast, so let's not negate that entirely. Let's talk about, with one season basically down, which division do we think is the toughest? Did you have any ideas on that, either Filthy or Doc, or we can just all briefly go through it and then see what we have to say after that? Does anyone have anything? Tell you what, hold on. Don't look at the stats. Don't look at them right now. Tell me what you think is the toughest division before we even look at the shit. Filthy, go. I know it's tough. You can't just say it. NFC West. That's my call. NFC West.
I was gonna say NFC West. I mean, that was, especially when Fink was in there, I would have said NFC West, but Fink kind of got replaced with Lance, who was a baller as well. So depending on who's gonna grab the 49ers, after this, so far, me, Evans, and Lance, that's a pretty strong division. And pretty much Lance replaced Fig, so yeah, NFC West to me. Everything else is kind of AFC North is also a tough one as well.
Yeah, my pick was going to be for the AFC North.
Yeah.
So it's weird. It's funny that my instinct is to pick the division that I'm not in, even though in the AFC North, I feel like I'm the guy. Like, it's very clear who the 1 and 2 are, and there are a lot of divisions that have a good 1 or 2. And so in those divisions, you kind of have to look at the 3 and potentially the 4. But the 3 is kind of the linchpin on, is this the hardest division? And so I just have played enough with my Steelers team to know that we need somebody that's not Kenny goddamn Pickett as our quarterback. The rest of it's there. And I also just am getting better at the game. But it's weird because, like, the one thing that I've noticed in playing the game is that I genuinely do believe that throw power matters a lot. Like, a lot for those a lot of passing plays. To the extent that, like, a guy with 87 throw power versus a guy with 93, they're just able to complete different passes. Like, specifically on shit like out routes and stuff like that, where it actually kind of makes sense. That, you know, you're hitting a tighter window, timing matters more. Kenny Pickett's got a fucking noodle-ass arm. And it's been really hard for me to adjust to, if my receiver isn't wide the fuck open, then I shouldn't throw that ball or some shit like that. But I do think that on the whole, I think I'm gonna level up. I do, because this is basically exactly what happened last year at the beginning of the year. My first season was rough. I threw a bunch of fucking interceptions. The passing scheme hadn't changed, but I couldn't tell you what happened, but I leveled up. And by season 3, I was in a Super Bowl. And I'm not saying I'm not predicting that that's going to happen here, but I do think that I'm going to get better. And I don't think the teams above me are going to get worse. So I guess I should have probably said the AFC North. Because I definitely, of course, respect the hell out of Hive and Filthy. I've played against them both. Way more against Filthy than Hive, but enough against both to know that they're good quality users. That this isn't flash in the pan shit. This is why the fuck did I pick the AFC North to go into shit. I'm pissed at myself. I didn't realize the Titans were still open when I made my pick. I got goaded into it. During the team draft, I'd been at work the whole day, and I literally got into my car, and they were like, "It's your pick." And I was like, "Oh, shit." And Filthy was like, "Oh, you could take the Steelers. They've got potential. You know, look at X, Y, and Z. We could play in a division." And
as somebody who has the Titans in a different league, you didn't miss out on anything.
Oh, but I'm telling you, dude, Malik Willis is the truth.
You gotta teach me how to do that thing, because I want to kick. I hate that kid.
I love the shit out of him. He will miss throws. That's fine. You literally cannot teach or train a quarterback to have 95 throw power and 92 speed.
Yeah.
The throw, and honestly, I value the throw power more than the speed. But I value them together like crazy. Because no, it's not
Pop
like
might be able to take a quarterback here pretty soon, and he'll be coming off that rookie year. So maybe you should hit Pomp up and see what it'll cause for Malik.
We'll be talking. Like, I promise you we will. I would not be doing my due diligence as a general manager if I didn't engage in those discussions. So, but anyways,
me and Joe Burrow will just be chilling over here.
You will be. I love Joe Burrow too, but I'm not even gonna bother asking because there's no.
Suck a fart out of my ass.
Because now you know what I knew last year.
My guy.
Dude, Joe Burrow was my guy before he was a given X Factor. I can only imagine what it feels like to drive that car now.
Dude, so the best part is I'm training him, and because I've thrown a bunch, I've got him to level up a few times, and we've been dumping that into strong arm, and somebody's gotten some arm strength upgrades.
There it is. The last thing that you needed. The fifth
he's
Infinity
up to like
Stone.
an 89. He's up to like an 89 or 90 throw power, and he's got a couple abilities that add to his like quickness of release and throw power. Once he gets lit, he's golden, dude. He's pony boy. Like,
disgusting.
And he's just out there slinging it, bro. Like,
So-
that's fun as shit.
My man's making his argument for a point we've already gone past of a Super Bowl favorite, but don't count him out.
Shh, sleep on me. Sleep on me very hard.
All right. I've seen this movie before. I'm not sure it's where I want to take this fucking podcast, but yeah. We'll move on to all right. So I'll take your opinions, and this is only a question that you posed, Filthy. I know because you wanted to get a rise out of me.
Mm-hmm.
Is having a decent O-line more necessary this year than years past? Oh, actually. Oh, man, I got my out. Go ahead. I figured it out. I know what I'm going to say. What do you think?
I think it matters more than it has. 100% too.
Yeah.
Why?
Because defensive line play, like computer defensive line play, is better than it has been in previous years. And if you do have a shit O-line and you go against a good defensive line, man, you can get fucking waxed up pretty fucking easy.
Not only that, like, if you go up against somebody that's not de-using the line, but has good coverage, like, their pass rush will just because it'll be automatically more effective.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's part of the reason I think you've struggled with that Steelers team is, like, you can't tell me you have a ton of time in the pocket with that offensive line.
I have no time in the pocket, and the worst part is I don't even get good pressure on defense because TJ Watt was hurt for, like, 4 fucking games. Which, 4 games isn't, like, a ton, but it's still, like, that's
a month of the fucking season.
Right, it's, yeah.
Wonder, I guess, with the extra week.
I remember the first game that I played, I didn't really, because he got injured on a sim week, and I didn't know about it. And so I go in and I'm like, why is he not in any of my packages? And I was like, oh, he's got a dislocated whatever the fuck, and he's out for 3 more weeks. Which also, dislocations take them out of the game way less time than I would have thought. God, modern medicine's incredible. But
ooh, I just thought of a question to add to this.
All right, let's do it then.
All right.
Write it down.
Yeah.
Or I don't know, type it out. I don't know, whatever you gotta do.
I'm typing it, and so that way I have it in my head. But go ahead.
Forethought.
Well, while he's typing,
go for it.
I've always been a opponent for the offensive line. I think offensive line is very underrated in Madden because I don't think they've necessarily gotten the coding down correctly for it yet. But when you can get it right, it's the difference between having a winning season and missing the playoffs because a lot of guys don't ID the mic, they don't slide protect, they don't do any of the stuff to kind of help their case, and they just take sacks all season. But when you can get the line to do that, then their ratings really take over. And there's times when you can have all day. It's just about if you're gonna, be lazy pre-snap. But and when it comes down to like the running game, that's where it's really, really important. And I think the guys that are up for the MVP right now, they're all running backs. But their O-line play they got all good O-lines, except for maybe me. But Ronald Jones is just on a different planet right now. But I've always I think O-line is severely underrated in Madden. It's just not used right.
Mm-hmm. Well, no, that's something I've gotten big into this year is sliding protections and shit like that, especially with the blitz coming back around this year. Like, the blitz to me, like, hasn't been relevant in Madden in, 2-3 years, maybe?
Mm-hmm.
Like, this is the first year I can remember sending blitzes again against the run, and they work. Because I remember in previous Maddens, you'd blitz the run, and they just run right past it, and every time I'd be like, so what's the fucking point of doing that?
Right.
Like, that's why I lived in, like, base defenses, like, the last 3 years, where now I have to remind myself, like, no, man, send some heat here and there, make this motherfucker shit himself, like, but you've got a point if you know how to ID that mic and understand where the overloader is at or where this blitz is going to come from, you can slide that line, dude, and you can do different things to help your case and buy yourself a little bit more time.
Yeah. I think a lot of the guys that say O-line don't matter, they're not doing anything with the line. They're not double teaming, IDing the mic. They're not doing all that stuff. And I get it's a lot, but If you don't do it, don't be surprised when somebody
It's the
runs
same
right
dudes that
past your
cry
guy.
when they get beat by a D-line user.
Right. Right.
Yes,
Exactly.
sir.
Yes,
Exactly.
sir.
Only people that beat me when I had like the best defensive line setup that I ever had were people that knew how to slide their shit around.
Yeah.
People would
It's
be
that
like,
simple.
I don't understand. And I'm just like, well, you're leaving Aaron Donald in
Or
single
leave a
blocking.
tight end, yeah, like or leave a tight end or a halfback in to fucking block.
Don't
like,
fucking even start with me because I swear to God, I lost. I don't know how much of my humanity. I was playing a game as in the you and I play in. I swear to fucking God, the game again because here's the thing. I had enough faith in the game that without sliding blocking, it wouldn't assign my tight end to one-on-one without any help, any sort of chip or whatever, block Von Miller. I didn't think I had to slide protection for the game to be like, maybe we don't have the tight end block Von Miller. That didn't happen. So I got like immediately sacked and I was like, what the fuck happened on that play? And
All
I
right, so that's what
watched the
I'm talking about.
replay and I
Like,
was like, oh my God, it thought that was a good idea.
but that's what I'm talking about. Like, the coding is messed up. So, like, what you think would make sense, I've kind of had to play with it a little bit. Like, so when you assign somebody to block, for some reason, now when you ID the mic, that's you're telling that guy to go block that guy. If that makes sense. So, like, if you block the running back or the tight end and there's an extra guy coming in the blitz, whoever if you ID that guy, then the tight end or the running back is going to go pick that guy up. But a lot of people don't know that because it doesn't make sense to even do that. But
I don't know.
stuff like that,
I
bro.
don't know what ended up that a tight end was in single blocking against Von Miller, who was off the edge, but it was bullshit, and I wasn't thrilled about it. But either way, to that point, I didn't, I didn't do any. I didn't bother to like ID a mic or shift coverage or whatever and things like that, and that plays a bigger role because, like you said, the AI coding for blocking is just atrocious. So you kind of have to like play call your way around it and shift things to compensate for it. But it's atrocious across the board. So if you are the one that is shifting things and being smart about it, you'll have an advantage.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So let's talk about then, if you could add any feature to Madden 23, what would it be and why?
Alright. Here's what I would add. Like, if we're trying to go for realism
You were
within
just like,
franchise mode,
you
right?
started this takeoff. I just want to point out you started off with like, all right. It was like the aliens guy, like straight up be like, all right, here's what I
So-
do.
Check this out. Like, a lot of times, NFL teams now, like, if they're in a shitty salary cap situation, will take a player's contract and convert money into guaranteed money to lessen their cap hit for the season to open up more money. Why can't we do stuff like that and restructures within franchise mode?
Man, and that's been the demand for so long in CFMs that I don't know why they can't make that happen. I
'Cause,
mean, they
like-
said they would, but they didn't.
Look, the Bears did it, dude, during the like Mitch Trubisky era where they had that amazing defense and shit. Every
Mhm.
year they would take like Khalil Mack's whole salary for the year and just be like signing bonus, let's clear that 20 mil so we can sign somebody. Like, I don't
Yeah.
understand why you can't move money around and like technically like you could, but you'd be asking that to be in the admin team's hands, and like those people already deal with enough shit, like from being
Yeah.
on that end of it myself
Yeah.
before, to be sitting there going in and adjusting contracts and doing that the right way. Like, we added 5th-year options. Why the fuck can't we get the option to move money around in a way that actual NFL teams consistently do now?
Can I play? I think this is an awesome idea, but can I play devil's advocate?
Sure.
in this league, correct me if I'm wrong, but we had to create coaches, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Owners are the ones that can, like, you're not. Oh, I've been
Oh no, we're
disconnected
owners
from.
in this league.
Are we? Okay, so we are. Fair.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I'm a coach in a different league. Many leagues prefer to choose coaches, not owners, and I think that's totally valid. In fact, I could give basically zero fucks if it's an owner or coach league. I think of all the things that I can choose, that affects the actual outcome of who's going to win the least. Um, that said, so do you guys feel like, do you heavily favor owner leagues versus coachless leagues, or are you kind of like me where you don't really care?
I
Like,
don't care. It doesn't matter to me.
so
Yeah.
let's say then that you're in a coach league and your owner, because it's the CPU and CPU does dumb shit, doesn't like doesn't manage the funds well. What if you're not winning and you're losing a ton of money because of it? Because the CPU is setting ticket sales inappropriately, or any one of a number of things that affect your funds. So then the reason that I'm saying this would be bad would be because some teams could have way more funds in their, because when you convert salary to bonus, it's just you pay it right away. And the way that this game treats bonuses is you have to have funds for it. So, like, am I wrong in that? I'm pretty sure that's how it
No, you're
works.
right. That's right.
So imagine you're in a situation where you don't have the funds to do something like that simply because you were a coach and the owner just made terrible decisions with ticket pricing and with whatever the fuck else. That's not even considering the fact that if you're in a league that has owners, not everyone wants to go in, set their lineups, do their practice, as well as make sure they are at the optimal ticket sales and merchandise sales and all of the shit that the owners control to make sure that then you have the most funds, because that gives you an advantage within contract rights and things like that. I don't know, maybe I'm way out in like right field right now, but that's where I'm kind of looking at it in terms of I love the idea, but I can see where it could be manipulated to be way more advantageous for some players than others, and sometimes in situations where nobody has actual control over who gets the benefit.
Yeah, I see where you're going. I mean, it could be one of those things where the feature just gets ignored because it may be too much for all 32 users, you know.
Yeah.
It would be a cool feature, but I can see where that will happen. Just like how owner mode is kind of neglected as well, because yeah, like you're saying, the funds that play a role into the contracts and stuff, which can be a cool thing, but everybody doesn't want to do all of that when they load up.
Yeah. So I guess to that point, maybe it just makes there be a bigger distinction in owner franchises versus coach franchises. Maybe it
Mhm.
just does that naturally. But I don't know. That's kind of where I go to it immediately, and that's assuming that things. That's assuming that the game works, right? Enough of this game has proven to be broken that I'm like, holy shit, I could see that going really sideways. So I don't know. That's the pessimist in me. But again, from a realism and a true simulation aspect, I really would love that. I'd love that especially on my like personal franchises that I play and build teams and stuff.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But I could see very easily where if it wasn't, at least if they add that, I sure hope it's something that you can choose to have in your league or not, depending on what you want to do. Because I think that'd be, I don't know. I have doubts, but again, love the idea of it. It's just I'm too pessimistic at this point. um, but all right.
My thing would be more of a gameplay edition. Um, and this is more so this Madden more so than anything, because when you click on to a guy on defense, say somebody lobs it up like on a deep post route,
Mm-hmm.
and there's two guys in that area, you don't know who they're gonna click you on to, so you almost have to kind of close your eyes and hope they turn you to the right guy. So what I would love to see is that they add kind of like how when you're playing 2K or something,
Mm-hmm.
you can kind of see all of the icons, kind of map it out to where
You
you can
hold
pick which
L2 and then
defender.
pick the icon of the guy
Yeah,
you want to. Yep,
yeah.
yep.
Pick the guy you want to turn into, and they can kind of have that up, while the play is going. And that would help. That would even change the whole aspect of just how defense is played as well. I mean, if you
Dude,
see a big crossing route or something, that would be crazy.
Doc, you have literally blown my fucking mind. And I don't know if that's
Mm-hmm.
just where I'm at right now personally, or if that idea is so game breaking, but I'm now just imagining. Because here's the thing, on deep passes, where this is going to matter the most, it's not like you're mashing a button right as soon as the animation starts. There are certain plays where that'll
Right,
happen, right? Where you're
right.
just right off the rip, you're tapping a button. But on the long pass, if you're trying to pick the ball off, you're waiting. You're waiting until that moment. And so in all of that time, so triangle will always be intercept, right? But let's say
Mhm.
there'll be a window when the ball's in the air, when the cornerback and the safety are all converging on the receiver in the middle, and you can pick circle or triangle.
Right.
And that's like a mini game within the game, and nobody that's good is ever going to bitch about that, because you'll train yourself to, like, oh, I'm not mashing buttons. I don't mash buttons when I'm trying to pick off a deep ball anyways, right? Like, I don't. You're waiting, the ball goes
Yeah, there's
out and you
dead
just hope
time.
there's a guy. And so in
Mm-hmm.
Right.
that time, rather than just like we all do it, we're like, here's hoping, circle. Like, instead of that,
hmm
you could. Oh shit, dude, that's such a good idea.
It would change the game,
That's
but
such a good. Again, I might just
yeah,
be on a different fucking plane of existence right now, but I am seeing a world where that gets introduced into the game, and then 37 years later, world peace is achieved. Not 36, not 38, 37 years later. That's what I see. Filthy, what do you think?
That's fucking wild, man. I mean, I think it's a great concept. I would absolutely love it to see it introduced into the game. I think you, sir, have reached an entire different level with whatever the hell that just was. But no, that would be fucking amazing because, like, dude, that has haunted me so many times where it's just like, man, that was the wrong guy. That's not what I had in my head. That's
yeah.
not what I'm moving the sticks for, anticipating. It's just
Well, and the thing
that.
is, it's like always one, like it's a coin flip, right? There's only ever two guys that you're worried about in that situation, and it
Yeah.
always it doesn't always pick you to the wrong one. Sometimes it picks you to the right one, you make the play, and it's great. But when it doesn't, it's like you wouldn't have needed more inputs than I had readily available to me.
Mm,
hmm
It's like, give me
exactly.
square or triangle if it's on the left side of the field. Give me the circle or triangle if it's on the right side, and if it's in the middle, whatever the fuck you want to do. But like, it's just where that would be that immediate, like, it's kind of the same. You have to make a decision, or the game at least told me. I don't know how much it matters, but aggressive catch, run versus catch. I'm making that decision while the ball's in the air, right?
Yeah.
Depending on where my receiver is in relation to any possible defender. If I think I'm going to get smoked while the ball's in the air, I'm holding X. If I think I'm beating this guy, I'm holding square. I want more yards. If I think it's contested and my guy's 6'5", I win the auto catch if I hold triangle. Like, those things happen offensively while the ball's in the air. So why don't we give the
Mm.
same options for the defense while the ball's in the air?
Simple.
Boom. Tough acting to acting.
Boom to, oh my god, dude. It's a sleep paralysis demon, but it's just John Madden in the corner of your room going boom, tough acting to acting. All right, guys.
R.I.P.
So I
I wish my witch lady was like John Madden. My sleep paralysis would be
all right.
so much more fun.
So I'm about to make myself a drink here, but I wanted to leave you two with a question. The one that I came up with because I've been staring at this thing here, right? All right. So I'm looking at the current standings and like how everything's shaking out. So in the AFC, right? You've got the Ravens at 12-2, the Bills at 12-2. The Raiders are leading their division as of now at 9-5, as are the Jaguars at 8-6. I'm the 5th seed in the wild card at 11-3. Now, this isn't so much an issue in the NFC, but would you like to see the NFL, because that would affect Madden, obviously, and make it come into the game, switch to a system kind of more like the NBA, where it's less on division and more on what your actual record is?
Yeah, because it takes out the who's in a weak division, who's in a strong division. It takes out that whole element where some guys can be like in a trash division and automatically have a 4 seed. And sometimes it's almost maddening. Like a guy can be 11 or whatever, have 6 losses and be the 4 seed based off of their division. And it's like in a perfect world, yeah, if all the divisions were balanced comp wise and all of that, then yeah, that would be something that would be uh, cool. But the con or the downside to that is that it takes away the whole who's going to win the division. It takes away that whole competitive nature to it. Outside of bragging rights, it takes away one more thing, one more motivation factor as far as winning the division. So uh, it depends on who you ask.
Yeah.
It depends on who you ask.
So, here's 2 reasons why I hate it. I hate it. I really do. And that's not to say that I hate the NBA. I'm wearing a fucking Cade Cunningham, Oklahoma. Holy shit, we're there. Oklahoma State.
Oklahoma?
Oklahoma.
I got me a nice Oklahoma. I also think this is a fucking awesome jersey. Like I love college jerseys. This is just a fucking awesome jersey. This is Oklahoma State. This was one of their jerseys that they wore the year that Cade Cunningham played there. Tore it up. He is going to be a Pistons legend. They're going to hang his shit in the rafters one day. Oh, after the last draft, I'm so excited. But anyways, like, I love the idea of shit. Now I'm bleeding that into my second point because of the whole reason that I wanted to make the second point.
Get it back together. Come on, kid. I believe in you.
Division is eliminating. So there's things like, part of it is divisional rivalry, I think. There are, for instance, if it was just the NFC and the AFC, there'd be no reason for the Cowboys to have a rivalry with any of the teams they have rivalries with, because they're all super far away from them. Like, all of a sudden, it doesn't matter that the Cowboys have to play the Commanders. Geographically, there's nothing that actually makes them like rivals. And even if you're saying, well, there's still the divisions and they play each other, the seeding matters. I just think it takes a lot away from what the value in that is. And shit, man, I thought I had a really good first point, but I lost it. Stupid Cade Cunningham, but I still love you. The second point, which I absolutely remember, is the thing of it is Virginia Commonwealth. You guys know that name, right?
Sounds familiar.
Like, it sounds familiar because they were, like, I think the first 16 seed ever to upset a 1 seed.
Oh, yeah, that happened recently.
Yeah, it was, well, recently. It might have been, like, 6 years ago. It feels recent. But either way, like, that happened, and immediately a whole shit ton of people knew about Virginia Commonwealth. Why? Because upsets happen. And the thing that the NBA does, and the reason that it works for the NBA is, there's far more star power in the NBA than there is in the NFL. I don't think anyone can deny that. There's just, LeBron is flat out more popular and more influential than anybody in the NFL. Tom Brady, I think, would probably be his closest NFL rival. but like star power is so much more of like massive and affects the NBA so much more. And so just having those guys in the playoffs matters a ton. But I love the randomness of allowing somebody that like maybe somebody that started off slow but they caught a fire late or just stumbled into the playoffs
I guess you could change
and
my
then won.
mind because like one of my favorite football memories is like what was that 7-9 Seahawks team making
Mm,
the playoffs, and there's the beast mode run against the Saints in
right.
that game. Like, yeah, so
That
that never
doesn't
would have
happen
happened.
in the NFL that we're proposing. And I know it doesn't happen often, but there's more parity in the league now than ever. And I just think that exactly the Beastquake, that shit is an iconic like moment. Like that's our immaculate reception, right? Like it's
I don't
that.
know if I'd go that far, but
Why wouldn't you? Maybe that's another question. Like this generation has to have its own massive moments. And I think the Beastquake is among those. It was the losing team that made the playoffs that then stomped a team in the playoffs. And with maybe the greatest run in NFL history as the exclamation point on that game. Like, I don't know. And I could also be way, again, out in right field. I might be off of my horse on this one, but like I love and again, maybe that's why I think we both are really looking forward to the college football game next year. Like I'm hyped for it, not because I think it's not going to be rid of EA's engine bullshit, but because of what the college game brings to it. The pageantry, the traditions, things like that. The things that you make memories off of. Like they don't write Disney movies about the favorites winning, right? It's all about the upset. Everyone loves the underdog. And now I've spent a good long time talking about why I hate the 1-8 playoff and then everyone else doesn't make a system. I should say I watched the shit out of hockey, love it, and that's as comparable player wise to the NBA as just about anything. And I have no problem with that format. So I guess I couldn't explain why I don't think it would work in football, but I just don't think it will work in football.
nah, I mean, I can agree. It's just it feels weird to me knowing I'm going to be like guaranteed the 5 seed.
Yeah,
Right.
right.
Like
When
that's where it hurts at. You know what I mean? I don't know. I
That's
feel
why I
like
said
the division winners should make it, but like where you're seated maybe should be determined on your fucking record.
here's the thing.
I got you.
You're the 5 seed. Okay,
Mm.
let's say season is already over. It ended. It ended at advance a few hours ago. So this is the playoffs. And you're the 5 seed. So you think you should be the 3 seed, right?
Yeah.
Doesn't that mean that you should think that you can beat the 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, etc.
I'm not
seeds?
saying I don't think I can.
So then just do it.
Okay.
No, you know what I'm saying though? Like that's not a personal challenge. I'm just saying if
No, no,
you
no, no.
think the
Let it
seeding
be a personal challenge.
if you think the seeding is unfair, then just beat the teams that you think that you should have been seeded above in the first place, right? That's how you really prove that you're better than them anyways, right? Maybe you got seeded off of them because of a sim loss or some shit like that. Who knows? But when you actually like play that team and beat them, then you're better than them. And otherwise, a bunch of nerds that made up statistics decided that you weren't. And also, the NFL that decided divisions would decide seeding. But that notwithstanding, I love, and here's the thing, especially like in a single elimination format. So the reason that hockey's a little different is because they always have series. But in single elimination, the thing is, you could have a team that was objectively there's the just the moment of it that I love about sports in single elimination is you can have a team that is just always better than that other team, right? Maybe 95% of their games, they are a better opponent. But they just woke up and they didn't know that that was that 5% of those days. And I love that that can happen. I just love it. Like it's captivating, it's thrilling. Like to watch the end of the VCU game, you were like, "Oh shit, this is going to happen." Like there were people drunk at like noon on a Thursday that were like, "This is going to happen." And like I love that. That's captivating to me. And you don't get that so much when the Dodgers are just going to probably win the World Series because that's what happens, right? I don't know. I'm definitely going to let this go now because I've been on it for a while, but I'm just like that's what I get out of the if you win your division, you may objectively be worse than a team that lost out, but you've got a chance. And everything changes once you're in the postseason.
Damn right. Once you get it, that's what like the regular season to me is. It's the race to get to the dance. Once you're in the dance, anything can fucking happen. So you just have to get there. That's what it's about.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Doc. I love that. That was a great point. So at this point, there's a final question that we'll go over before we just briefly, you know what, and maybe I don't know, like we can briefly run over divisions if you want, but I feel like we've done a good job of talking about it and talking about people, and we can do what we want to on this podcast anyways because we're the ones that make it. But what do we think that the league or users or we or whatever the fuck you want to say can do to keep TSR going forward? I think the obvious the obvious first answer the obvious first answer is engagement, right?
Yeah.
People talking in the chat and commenting on things like this or commenting on other users' content, things like that. And Doc, I'm sorry, I cut you off. You were saying?
There's a couple things. I think, and I'll kind of shoot through this quick because I got to knock out soon. But one, I think, like you said, the chat activity, and I think one thing that could help with that would be like some form of chat reward system, like you know how you level up in the chat and stuff like that. I know they do you know the what's it called, the summaries or the reviews, whatever.
The reviews for how you're doing and shit like that.
Yeah. I know they do that, but like I think if they do like every 5 levels or something, you get some type of stat reward or whatever the case may, whatever they want to come to where it can help your team. I think we add something like that to boost the chat up a little bit. And then as far as like the advances, I know some guys are not gonna like that, but either one or two things. You either stay on the 72-hour advances and then you get up like a scheduling thread so that we can see what's actually going on with the attempts for scheduling. If you guys know what I mean, like you lay out.
I know exactly what you mean. Like each week they create a fucking chat and you like schedule through there, so you can straight up be like, okay, this motherfucker has like.
Yeah,
exactly.
I actually love that idea just because it brings a level of accountability to where it's like, okay, you know what? Don't you you can do it through DMs. Like I'm fine like with people DMing each other, and I agree that's the way it should be done. But you also have this chat here where it's like, okay, well, obviously, like, nobody's responding, nobody's doing anything. What's the fucking point of fucking around here?
Right. I think like
Yep.
this past advance, for example, we kind of hinged on like another hour, a couple of hours, just because we didn't know what happened in the DM, and then it turns out that the admin had to, load up in the Discord, find out what these guys are saying, and do all of this stuff before you get down to the bottom of it. Where if you had a chats already laid out, they can just go and check that instead of having to run behind grown men, and I think that will help with that, and just that'll kind of help speed up some of the advances instead of going to like a 48-hour deal. Um, those would be
I
my
don't
two
personally
things.
think 48 hours is the answer here.
Right,
Yeah.
right, right.
Yeah.
I think you pretty much just do that. You go with like a more accountable scheduling system outside of DMs,
I'm
and then
for it,
some form
but
of chat reward system.
I'm for it, but I do know that it also creates a ton of extra work. Well, not a ton, but it does create extra work for the teams that are putting these things together. So, at the same time, I think that also, so I like that, but it also just, what it does is it forces people to communicate with each other. It's pretty easy if you are messaging somebody and they're not messaging you back at all to say early on, like, hey, this guy's not responding to me, and get whatever you need to advance quickly. Um, what the channel does is it puts an immediate onus on both parties and allows everyone to see who's active. So
Yeah,
that makes things like that, of course, as that accountability, but also just if everyone was more active, then you wouldn't have the problem in the first place. And I guess I guess what I'm saying is you're creating more work for the people that work the league, where the user base should be sorting itself out in that way, and if it's not, then that should be sorting the league out in a different way. But I'm pretty sure you could
if
probably like compute a
if that
bot to
was
do
a
that, right?
yeah,
So
not to cut you off, but if that was more of a once every 4 or 5 advances type thing where there's somebody just not hitting the other guy back, but when it's becoming like consistently doing that, um, I think some like a scheduling, where they set that up, I think that'll help them out more than anything. And these guys, our admin team, these guys are smart guys. I mean, they set up whole DraftKings, Duck Kings, all this type of
yeah,
stuff.
that's true.
They can figure
It's not a
out.
league ran by idiots, man. Like, that's
True.
why I
True.
totally and wholeheartedly believe that's something they could honestly do.
And it's not that hard to set up on Discord, I don't think. I think they
No,
added
it's
something on
easy.
Discord. Yeah.
It's
So,
easy.
Filthy's volunteering to start that up for them.
I would 100%. I don't even give a shit. I would do it. It's fine. It takes
I
no skin off my back and hardly any time out of my life.
I know so well that you are serious about that. That's the only reason I would have even. Well, I would probably have said that if I didn't think you were serious, but I definitely know that you are. So, yeah. Maybe something we want to do, maybe we don't. Either way, do be accountable for your games. Like, let's play these games. Let's keep this league going. And I say that as somebody that has had like a rough availability schedule, so I get that. But still, play games, be interactive, and just let's chat and do things like that. Even if you're in a situation where you can't play a bunch of games, make sure you're around and talk to people and engage in stuff. So, but yeah, I
yeah.
I do agree. I like that system. I kind of like it when there's just a bot that texts me that's like, "Hey, this is who you played this week. Talk to him." It's it's nice. I can be like, "Hey, yo, this is what I got going on. What do you got going on?" And we'll go from there. So, something to consider. But either way, do you guys have something else for that point?
No, man. I know we've lost some people that were here from the start and that were super active in chat, and like I don't know. That doesn't need to be the end to me whatsoever. We've got a good group of new guys in here, and we've got a lot of the dudes, honestly, that made this league fucking awesome to begin with are here. So I go back to the same thing I go to every time, man. When we need to bring people in, when we need to find somebody new, if we need to, all of you play in other leagues. Everybody knows somebody. Everybody can be coached up. Somebody could be a fit. Like, I don't know. To me, it's not that hard to fill these things. You just have to have people that actively want to help do that.
Yeah.
And I think this league can be fucking amazing and awesome and run for many, many, many cycles. We just all have to put in the work to help get it to that point. Like the admins do their job. That's on us as the community to keep this thing going.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. I think that's the other point that I was gonna say. You reminded me of that. I think if we can get like a good solid wait list there, um, having a wait list is healthy in a lot of cases, and I think if we can get a wait list going and just kind of bring active guys that we know into this league, you know what I mean? Like basically everything you just said, Filthy. I think that's the other thing that's missing because I think we lost a lot of morale when we lost, half the guys, to whatever reason it was, whatever
So
BS reason.
I mean, not to hop back on my fucking
Go ahead.
soapbox here, but like I feel like this league was created as a side league initially, and
Yeah.
a lot of us love it so much that it's become a main league. So like for those people, and I know those people listen to this podcast, I want to keep this a main league. This is a main league to me in my heart and has been from the second I joined it and met all y'all. We have to be the ones to keep that going, man. It can't be all on the admins all the time to find everybody, bring everybody in. Because, dude, as somebody who's done that shit gets stressful as fuck, bro. Like, you can
Yeah.
help, you can participate. If
Preach,
you
brother.
want to make this goddamn league great, then get off your ass and make this fucking league great. Hi, my name's Filthy Hands, and I love TSR.
Bro, this is. I'm
This is
sorry.
why I'm Silent Bob, dude. I hang out in the corner. I
Silent
talk a
Bob
little
my
bit,
ass.
and then
You are
I come
literally
out
the
the
co-host about. You talk almost as much as I do. You're not Silent Bob at all.
Nah, man. Like it's just how I
But
feel about
what I
it,
will
bro. Like
say,
I love this fucking league, and like I know a lot of you do, and like I just feel like that if we want to keep this thing going, then the people that love this league have to keep it going. And like I'm not saying this as like the oh my god the league's dying. I don't fucking think that's happening either.
because it's not.
But I do know that like I'm not stupid. We have lost some people. The chat's been a little bit quiet. And like I just feel like somebody knows somebody that would be a perfect fit for here. And it's not that hard, guys, to get those people in here.
Mm-hmm.
Preach. That is. Dude, I had so many thoughts flood through my head about what I was going to say to follow up what you just said. And several times I had the perfect thing to follow what you just said. But you just kept on spewing greatness. And at some point I got lost in all of that. And I literally don't have anything else to say except for everything that he just said was true. We are just one user that we know that's a rock star fit for this league away. And even if all of that shit happened, nobody cares. Like this is so I guess my first thought was this is my main league. Like I don't this might have started as a side league. It's not for me. Like this is the one league that I'm in two leagues right now. And I love the other league that I'm in 100% committed in that shit, but this is my main league, right? Like this is what I care about. And I think that content that we're creating and the challenge that we're putting out for other content creators for this league is that, like, let's keep it that way.
Mhm.
This
Well,
is
this is what makes Madden franchise good, man. Is like, I've played in a lot of leagues. I've seen a lot of different things, and what I see is like the fact that we have people that have fucking Twitter accounts, dude, and that do podcasts and that do write-ups and game recaps and all that shit, like that already helps separate us apart. So we just have to get people that want to keep doing that and that bring that same energy and that same vibe. And that's what I look at. Like, we have a whole good group. We've had people leave, and I still say this league has a more solid core than most.
yeah.
Like, I floated around Reddit, brother. I've seen what's out there. This is fucking amazing. I've told friends of mine, man, and I wish they'd listen, dude. Like, people like John. He's like, oh, I'd love to. I just wish I had, time. I'm in 2, 3 leagues. Okay, pick your worst league and drop it because I'm telling you this is going to be better.
Yep. 100%. And that's true, and at the end of the day, what I love about this league is that we aren't generating this content to become popular or some shit like that. We are generating this content because we want for other people in this league to consume that shit. And
I got a great full-time job. I will never be a full-time content creator. I
Right.
just stream because I like to.
Same thing, dude. I stream because I like to do it. It's fun to do. I don't usually associate. In fact, I don't think I've ever associated this podcast with my personal stream. And
No,
like,
neither of us have.
who cares one way
Like, I
or
don't
the
pump
other?
my
Like,
shit on here.
no. Why would we? But also, nobody would care if we did. Why? Because we're doing this. Everyone knows we do this podcast for the league. Like, I don't share the shit. Like, literally, my mom has been like, "You make a podcast? Why haven't you told me about it?" I'm like, "Mom, because I say things you wouldn't be proud of, and also because I'm doing things you wouldn't care about." So those are the two reasons. And this is a community-driven podcast. We start off every episode saying this is a TSR community podcast for a reason. So we're gonna do what we think people are gonna be interested in at the end of the day, and any of those things you guys can always tell us about. So, Doc, you with us?
Yeah, barely.
I know you're getting sleepy, brother. I appreciate
Yeah,
you
look,
coming
I'm
on.
getting sleepy too.
Dog.
So, Doc, you go ahead and bring us home. You start us off. Final thoughts for the podcast.
Nah, man. Appreciate what you guys doing, man. Y'all keep doing this for real because we talk about this recent morale drop, man. But the one thing that's been constant is two things is the admins, the work that the admins are putting in. They're keeping the Duck Kings going. They're keeping the advances, the organization, all of that. Um, they're doing their thing. You guys are doing your thing with the podcast, which I look forward to. So I appreciate you guys, appreciate the admin team. I just hope that we kind of get back to a spot to where um, the feeling of it being a what TSR was beginning to be at towards the end of last cycle, which I don't think we were far off from. And I know we kind of recovering from that hit. It's only one season, but that's what we got to get on. So I agree with everything you guys just said, and just basically just appreciation, gratitude goes out to y'all and the admin team.
I mean, shit, man. I couldn't end it any better. The only other thing I could say is like, I don't know, man. Just listen to what I said there, guys. Man, if you give a shit, if you actually care, take it to heart, dude. Because this like it. Not to echo some Michael Jordan shit, but I took that personal. Like, take it personal. Let's
Yeah.
make this shit like a destination league, like I know it can be.
100%. I've always thought this was my league, right? I didn't have a different league that I thought was as good as this one is. At least this cycle for sure. Last cycle even, I'm thinking about like the leagues where I thought the content was great, so much so that Filthy was like, "Hey, remember that podcast that we had? Let's dust that off and start it again." Right? I never wanted to do that shit, and this league was what made me want to do that shit. So, I mean, who gives a shit whatever the fuck people thought that we were when we started? It's about where we are and where we're going forward. And this is a league that has great parity, has awesome content. The storylines are great. The storylines are great because the users tweet about what's going on. They talk about what's going on. They talk to each other. They talk trash to each other. Like, that's what makes this league go. And I never want to have to record a sad podcast about this league. I've never done that. I don't think I ever would. But, like, that's not what I want. I want us to continue in this trend. Fuck whatever other shit's going on. We know what we're about, right? Everyone in this league knows what they're about. And that's what I love about recording this podcast. People watching it, like, they get pumped up by it. If you're watching this podcast and you're not psyched up about the league at some point in this podcast, then yeah, probably you should just go. But I don't think that you will, because I don't think there's anybody that's watching this shit and that's about this league that isn't a little bit more pumped up for the future of this league. Whether they are in the playoffs this year, whether they are looking to contend for a Super Bowl this year, like many of our teams should, or whether they're watching this and saying, yeah, we're in a bit of a rebuild stage, but just watch out. Just see what we're going to be in 2, 3, 4 years. See what we'll be next year. Shit, who knows? That's what I love the most about this league, is that we've got a lot of parity. We're competitive as hell, and we're definitely in this thing all as one unit. And if you're not a part of it, then we'll just go ahead and replace you with the next man up like we have before. So,
Ricky Bobby, and if you don't chew Big Red, then fuck you.
Exactly. If you don't chew TSR, then fuck you.
Fuck you.
Alright, well then, with all of that being said, that's the first shot you'll drink this podcast if you're playing the drinking game. For that one at least, I don't know, whatever on the ones we hit. For myself, J-Dog, for my best friend and constant co-host, Filthy, for our esteemed and honored and should be knighted by the king himself of England, that feels weird to say, Doc, this has been Shadowboxing, the TSR Community Podcast. Thank you so much for coming on this journey with us. If you have feedback for us, of course, we want to hear it. That is what this literally thrives on. We actually quite literally changed this episode because of community feedback, so let us know how we did. But until next time, take care of yourselves, and if you can, take care of someone else. And remember, new thing I'm adding to the end of this podcast is that kindness to others costs you nothing. Remember that anytime you interact with somebody. Have a great night. We loved it. We'll see you next time.
Have a great night, guys. Thanks for making TSR awesome.
Yes, sir.